Hey guys, it's Alan. Just so you guys know, we forget at the beginning of the episode to explain what this show is about, but it's about Farscape and
Hey everybody, welcome to ScapeChatz episode 4. My name is Alan and I'm here again with Magellan. What's up, buddy?
Hi, what's up, man?
Oh, just hanging out, talking about cool sci-fi shows with my bro.
Nice. You know what I just realized?
What's that?
It's inherently rude to answer the question, what's up, by saying, what's up, back.
It's a weird, most American conversational slang is stupid, is what you're saying.
It's just weird. It's just because you're like, I'm not expected to answer your question, but now there's nothing left for you to do except answer mine. So I apologize.
My favorite is, the cyclical, how you doing? Pretty good. How about you? Good. How about you? Good. I've had that happen before. It's very scary.
You wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah. And they're like, so good? Like they didn't experience any of that. Oh man, it's like that conversation that Aaron's son and Crichton had about the word hey and how it leads to weird conversations. Oh yes, brought it back. Yes.
This show's basically Seinfeld in that respect.
No, yeah, we're not watching Seinfeld? No soup for you, Dargo.
Oh man, great episode.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that episode though.
No.
You know what episodes we are talking about?
Thank you for the segue. Yes, I do. We watched 2 episodes this week, as always.
You can't point out every segue because
that breaks the point of the segue?
Yeah. The momentum is gone.
No, we're good.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. I've been having a okay week, and I'm here to talk about, what are, to be fair, you've noticed that we haven't gone into the episode yet, to be fair, some pretty mediocre episodes, I'm gonna say.
Probably the blandest pair that we've had so far.
Definitely. Especially after last week. This is just two kind of episodes that just were. Specifically, we watched I.E.T., which is episode 7 of season 1 on Netflix, and episode 2 of season 1, according to air dates.
Right.
Which we'll talk about that. And we also watched That Old Black Magic, which is episode 8 on season 1, and episode 8 in the airing order. So I think, does that mean that we're getting back into the real air order?
Yeah, I think we're good from here on out.
Makes sense. Let's just get right into it. I.E.T., directed by Pino Amenta, written by Sally Lapidus. God, every Farscape person.
I would love to drink both of their names.
I had a very fine Pino Amenta. Can I get a side of Sally Lapidus? Tasty. This episode aired May 8th, 1999 in the US and December 20th, 1999 in the United Kingdom. Basically, quick plot. I decided that I think the best way to start these discussions is to break down just what happens in the episode, and then we can kind of get into what we found about it instead of going plot by plot. So with I.E.T., John Crichton and the gang continue their trend of having him, Dargo, and Aaron's son go land on a planet, and they find out that the Moya has a tracking device on it, and the only way to remove it is to, without hurting it, because it's a living thing, is to anesthetize it, and the only material to do that with is called chlorium, and they land on a planet that is surrounded by marsh, and they get some chlorium by going to a woman's house there, and they find out that the people on that planet don't know that there are aliens. And so John Crichton gets to play the stranger in a strange land role and maneuver his way into getting some chlorium from this woman and her son, who are basically aliens whose only defining feature is that they have weirdly elongated sort of facial parts. And
like ears, basically.
Right, yeah, behind the neck. And so he does that, and Dargo gets captured at one point, and Aaron's son leaves at one point, and then the B plot is just that Zahn and Rigel try to use Zahn's empathy powers to slowly heal the ship, but things go awry, and the episode ends with them just kind of leaving and being like, well, that was weird.
Uh-huh.
So, what did you think of this episode, Majan?
I think it had some themes, some underlying themes that were really interesting, and had they been executed well and executed earlier in the show, they would have been especially compelling. But here, they weren't handled as well as I would have liked, and a lot of this character stuff that's going on feels really stale because this was the second episode of the show. And there are other signs of its staleness as well, like the fact that I think there's a moment where Aaron pronounces Arn, the measure of time, Arne.
Right.
So there's that, and there's other like minor inconsistencies like that going on in this episode. So I felt like I was watching it just for the sake of watching every episode, and I didn't feel like I got that much from it.
Right, it feels completely skippable because there are, like you said, there are themes of this idea that for the first time John Crichton gets to be the outsider and gets to have a second chance at giving someone else a first encounter because his was so awkward. But I just feel like so little happened and there was so little meat to chew on in this episode and like to think about, because we've been enjoying discussing how this show plays with sci-fi tropes and how it flips ideas on their head, and it just kind of, like that plot summary I kind of made longer than it even needed to be. Like he just kind of goes on the planet, and then the cops there are like, oh, they're aliens, and then it just becomes the plot of the film E.T. Like the name is kind of damning in that way, because I legitimately expected there to be some sort of bicycle over the moon scene where him and Dargo are in a little covered in a blanket, and they go into space and escape the police who are using flashlights instead of guns. But that just doesn't happen. Like things just kind of go all right, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, like the MacGuffin of the episode, I didn't really get. Like I got that he was supposed to get this compound to anesthetize the ship, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Them continually talking about how Moya is a living ship, the idea that Moya was born, the idea that living ships can't usually go onto planets because they can't like handle the gravity because they're too heavy.
Right.
That is really cool conceptually. And that's like world building facts that you should be getting out in a second episode. And so that part of it, like we need to find a compound to anesthetize the ship, felt like it made sense. And it didn't feel like an arbitrary fetch quest that they had to go do, right? But the fact that in the B plot they're doing the thing that they wanted to get the thing to be able to do,
right,
was weird. And so the culmination of John Crichton getting this stuff isn't enabling them to get off the planet, it's healing the ship after the fact, which is necessary, but it feels inconsequential visually and viscerally speaking as a viewer. And also, there was enough of it in her salt shaker.
There was exactly enough.
The ship, like, I don't know.
I think, one of my bigger problems with this episode is that it sort of gets by on convenience. Like, things just kind of work out really well. And if you view it as the second episode that came out, it kind of makes sense that they, didn't understand how to construct a B plot, because in this episode, the B plot is there entirely to serve the A plot. It does not stand on its own. It does not, it does not resonate in any way. It just happens. And I felt like there was a lot of potential there. But like you said, I thought that the stuff about Moya being a creature and how Moya used to go around in space and travel with the other space ships, and they would used to hang out together. Like all that those little brief lines from like Rigel and Pilot were really cool. But just the show very quickly, I'm starting to notice, fell into this formula of the away team plot and the home team plot. And I love it when the themes of them both blend, because I feel like that's how you're supposed to write television, is that the two plots are supposed to contribute to each other, because why would they exist separately? And, there just wasn't a lot to dig into that with that.
But so, okay, if I can just criticize you for a second and what you just said, because you're saying that you want plots to incorporate with one another, but you didn't like the way that these two worked, that these two plots worked.
Well, what I'm getting at is that I feel like the B plot didn't accomplish anything.
So what is, because we've also in the past praised side plots that don't, okay, no, I guess that's not true. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, it's okay if the facts of two plots don't contribute to one another as long as they have some resonant thematic connection.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. They can blend into each other, and they can do physical interaction like that. You know, she's trying to fix the ship, they're trying to fix the ship, we're all trying to fix the ship. But what does the B-plot mean? The idea is that Zahn is an empath person who can take on the pain of the ship and use it and try and wait while Rigel pulls out parts and takes out the transmitter to the peacekeepers. But just kind of like she goes, oh, it's too hard, I couldn't do it, and that's the gist of it. And especially coming after last week's episode where she had to learn about her sort of ability to hurt people and her violent tendencies.
That was this week.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, I think that what I'm getting at is that the second episode does this show does B-plots very well, and they've been becoming my favorite plots of the show. So it's really weird that this episode felt like such a misstep in that department.
Right. Well, because it was the second episode. And
it starts off heavy. Like a DRD, those little R2-D2 droids on the ship died. Because they spent a lot of the beginning of the episode. And I kind of like the way this episode was directed in certain parts. Filming from the inside of the Peacekeeper drone, which is like in a vent, basically. And then a DRD droid that comes in and gets fried immediately. There's a line about Yoda that I really like too, in terms of John Crichton's pop culture reference of the week. I think he mentioned...
They lingered on it weirdly long. But yeah, he's like, like Yoda, and Aaron's like, who's Yoda?
He's like, just a little green guy, trains warriors.
And Aaron's like, oh, cool.
She's like, neato, and you're like, yeah, I get it. Like, the whole joke is that she believes that that's a real thing that exists.
Right. Well, then the other joke is just like, hey, Henson Company, wink.
Oh, that's true. I forgot. I didn't even catch that. That's a good point. Also, there's when they're landing, I think, I liked that, Aaron and John's default bracing position is just like a really sexy hug. They're like, alright guys, we're going down, we need to grab onto something, and they're like, hello, and she's just like, has her arms up, and he's got his like hand around her chest, and you're like, what? This is the beginning of a kissing scene. This is not, they're like...
A kissing scene.
A scene of kissing. A makeout scene. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what things are.
It's just so innocent. Like, oh, these two characters are gonna have a kissing scene.
They're gonna have a smoochy moment. A smoment. I want to talk about the mom and her son a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
They can't see it at home, but your eyes rolled back into the back of your head right there for a second. I like that. I just want to say that the son's name is Fostro, and he runs Fostro's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Okay, cool.
And I wrote that joke, and I really wanted to get it out there.
Can I check in with my thing about the translator bacteria of the week?
We need to give this a theme song at some point. I love it. I was just a little behind the scenes. I was just listening back to the last episode, and the first thing I turned to was that moment. It's like, oh, come on. Here we go. And it goes for a while. It's very funny.
I mean, it's a really fascinating concept to me. But hey, guess what is the problem with this episode? Is the population of this planet has never made contact with outsiders before, so why can they speak to each other?
Why can they speak to each other?
Why can they speak to John Crichton?
Because he has a translator.
Hey, Alan, do you remember the pilot where John Crichton didn't have the translator and he didn't understand what Dargo was saying, and then he got the translator and he did understand it?
Yes. Oh, you're saying how did they understand what he's saying? Right. Oh no, dude, it's a I'm trying. It's a universal translator. It translates both ways.
No, I'm telling you it doesn't.
It's an input-output.
I'm telling you the pilot shows us that it doesn't.
Explain yourself again. I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's all we know about the translators and the way that they function.
Okay.
Is that before you get them, you don't understand what aliens are saying.
And aliens don't understand you.
Theoretically.
Okay.
I guess we don't know that for sure.
Okay.
But it seemed like Dargo didn't understand what John Crichton was saying either, and he was just shouting at him.
Right.
So we know that, and we also know that after you get the translator, if you both have translators, everyone understands each other. And either they're speaking the same language, or they can all somehow understand each other and hear each other in their native language or whatever. We don't know how that works, but it's fine. So, John Crichton is an alien to these people. These people have never had contact with aliens before. So, how are they communicating with him?
I think the way the show wants you to think about it is that
they forgot, and they don't want us to think about it.
No. Well, yeah. But, I mean, in context, I'm trying again. They want you to think that he's transmitting in their native tongue. But the pilot says that doesn't happen. I get you. I got you.
Right.
So, yes, what's weird is I can't keep saying, oh, forget about it. This is the second episode.
Right, that's the thing of it.
It's how did you forget so quickly?
Because I think they return and do something explicitly with the translators later, where they acknowledge them in a later episode.
Good.
So it's weird that I don't remember. I just remembered something, but it wasn't just me that brought the translators back up. But I don't remember when it happened, so I can't back that up. But yeah, this is the second episode, and they've already forgotten one of the key rules.
Don't break the rules of your show, says Magellan.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes.
This has been your translator moment of the week.
And it's just as easy as John Crichton being oh, I got this bacteria in my pocket. Translate.
I'd get a bacteria in my pocket if it let me speak any alien language.
Also, I want to see that the worm that brushes your teeth again. I missed that.
I more weird parasites that do natural benign things for you. I'm way into that concept.
Yeah. Let's do that. You just have a whole bait box of, a tackle box of, this one cleans my teeth.
This one's floss. This one brushes my hair.
Yep.
Can we talk about
this one makes spicy foods taste sweet. Go ahead.
This one makes it so I can eat those Harry Potter jelly beans and not throw up. Can we talk about how it's weird that John Crichton gets a twitch because of the Peacekeeper Beacon, but only now and not sooner? Yeah,
that seemed weirdly arbitrary.
It's just kind of it's like a motivator for the joke of the cold open, where she's where Aaron Stone's oh, stop twitching. And he's there's something weird. And I guess, again, if we're going to be second episode, that's why it makes sense that they're getting the transmitter out now. Because if it was 7 episodes in, it's guys, how was this going for so long and nobody thought that it was weird?
Right.
But yeah, he just has a twitch, and he finds out that it's because the transmitter that's in the hull, the neural cortex of the ship, is broadcasting very high-pitched sounds. Neural nexus, that's what it's called.
Uh-huh.
Also, the concept of forbidden cargo is interesting to me, and I wonder if that's going to come back in any way. The idea that there are things that ships like Voya can't bring on them, one of them being an anesthetic. Hey, spoilers! This isn't a spoiler, actually. That does come back.
Nice.
One more time. Actually, it's in 3 episodes, and this was one of them. So, other things that happen. There really just isn't a lot to this episode. It's literally E.T.
There isn't.
The joke that I wanted to make was that I like that they still didn't have a lot of creativity when it came to designing other alien races on this show yet, other than the main cast. So, this, swamp alien race, his only defining features are if you had a chin length slider in an RPG and you just turned it a little too high, and it's oh, it wasn't meant to go this high, but it does. And it really just looked like they had big jowls. It was come on, guys. Foster deserves better than this. I want a shirt that says Foster deserves better than this, and see if anyone gets it.
Did they have a truck?
Yes.
They had trucks, right? It's fucking alright.
The whole thing of that race is that, they're basically just Southern Earth, but they have weird faces. There's nothing alien about them. They're just basically Earthlings with weird faces. They have trucks and guns, too. When everybody lands, they're shoot them! And you're the fuck? Are those, assault, are those rifles? What are you, I don't even know. There was a point where, I forget why, but John Crichton got back on the ship and he was unconscious, if I'm not mistaken. And, Rigel thought he was dead. And he was we're gonna have to do a whole funeral ceremony for John Crichton. Such a bummer. Let's do our traditional funeral ceremony. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he's like about to eat John Crichton's like leg or something. Wasn't that what was happening?
I don't remember.
It was a dumb thing. I just like the idea that his death ceremony or his Rigel's race has this like ceremony that involves essentially cannibalism.
Uh-huh.
But it immediately is played as a joke where John gets up and then Rigel's like, "Oh, I revived you. You're welcome. You're welcome, buddy. I do what I can." As he's about to take just a fat bite. God, there's really nothing else on here. Did you have anything else about the Zahn plot?
No.
Question about the A plot, actually.
Okay.
So Dargo got kidnapped because he's a crazy alien? How did they kidnap him if they're just like humans?
I don't know.
Should I not ask these questions?
No, I'm done with this episode, dude.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention.
I was watching this episode in a really weird, I was watching it on the 13th floor of a library, so I was busy looking out the window the whole time. The only other thing I wanted to mention was the really weird detail when, what's his face? John Crichton is leaving the planet. He's like, "Oh, thanks for the chlorium, Linnea," or whatever the heck the lady's name was. Uh-huh. He kisses her. He's like, "This is how we say goodbye." He kisses her on the cheek.
Yeah, I guess he's European.
It was very European, and you're like, no, but he's very clearly American. Like, what?
But then she's like, "That's not how we say goodbye." Ooh, like she was so turned on.
And the son is right, and then Foster's right there, and he's like, "Mommy, what is this?" It's very weird. And then there wasn't even a good end of episode reflection moment. There was one, but it wasn't good. I forgot.
Oh, what happened?
Aaron finds this is from the Farscape Encyclopedia Project. Aaron finds a wistful John watching the departing planet through Moya's viewer and asks if he's going to miss that rock. And John answers, "No, not that rock." John answers cryptically. Aaron leaves him to his musing. Oh, because he's going to miss Earth instead.
Miss Earth, yeah.
That's okay. That works in the context of when this episode came out.
Or when it should have come out.
Right. There's some trivia from this episode, actually. Some of it's interesting.
Like?
Aaron says crap instead of dren because they accidentally didn't realize that they created a word for crap for aliens to say instead. They just forgot. References E.T. The water in the swamp was completely CGI. That was obvious. The whole thing where the Moya was landing, I was like, this is, the show doesn't do well with CGI. Right? Right.
Yeah.
The makeup for the Danaans to differentiate them from human and Sebaceans was designed by Dave Elsey. Dave Elsey, get your shit together. Good God, sir. I hope you did better in the future. This episode was part of the second batch of back-to-back filmed episodes. Okay, that makes sense. Rockne S. O'Bannon, the creator of the show, admits that while the episode suffered in execution because it was filmed very early in the series, he stands by the script since it keeps John down to earth and serves as a touchstone for all the episodes that followed.
Can I blow your mind real quick?
Go ahead.
This is a general Farscape fact.
Go for it.
You know who provides the voice of Pilot?
I don't.
It's the guy who plays Crais.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
They could have afforded more people. They had 1,000 extras. Because I really like the voice of Pilot. And I don't like Crais. Hey, we'll get to that. I just wanted to, I think the last piece of of bonus information is essential. Okay. Guess what, John?
What's up?
Despite not having translator microbes in their body, the native population of this planet can understand Crichton and the rest of the Moya crew. That's it.
See.
Aha.
There you go.
They know, man. They get that. You're not alone.
Yeah.
So I guess it's one of those, if the other race he's talking to has translators and they understand him, but these guys don't, so they shouldn't be able to, but the show is kind of lazy sometimes.
Right. They just forgot.
Yeah.
I mean, they've just forgot some key things in this episode.
Yes. Do you want to talk about the second episode?
I do. What was it called?
I was trying to think of a way for us to, break between episodes so that I could, find an edit point, but...
Oh, I do, but, in a minute. Let's sit here for a second and be quiet. Hey everybody, it's Magellan and Alan here, just cutting into the middle of the episode for our first, Moya Bag segment. Do you like that name, Alan?
I'm so happy you stuck with it!
So, just to level with you all, we recorded these episodes a while ago. We have a significant backlog of episodes. This one, episode 4, was recorded, how long ago? 6 months?
March 29th, 2015.
Yeah, wow. And it is currently January.
Yes.
Of 2016. So, but we still want this show to be a living, breathing thing, much like Moya is a living ship, right?
Yes.
Right.
A living ship.
We want this to be a place where the people who love Farscape can discuss Farscape. So it's not just us. It's not just our opinions. We happen to be the guys with the microphones and the podcast feed, sure. But we're not the only people with opinions on Farscape. So, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, anything like that you want to share with us, there are now numerous ways by which you can do that. And you can be assured that in the following episode, if you want your feedback or question or comment to be shared, we will share it in one of these interstitial bits between episode discussions. So
there's nowhere on the internet you can. I'm going to cut you off. There's nowhere on the internet you can go that you won't find a way to contact us regarding Farscape or ScapeChatz in general. We have our Twitter account, which is @ScapeChatz, spelled the way the show is. We, of course, have our email, scapechatz@gmail.com. And now we're going to start doing weekly episode threads where we post every episode and sort of have a little comment discussion on the Farscape subreddit, which is r/Farscape. That's reddit.com/r/Farscape. Shout out to the mods there for being cool with us putting up threads every week. Just a couple days ago, I actually posted there just about the show in general around episode 3, and we got a lot of amazing positive feedback. Just real quick shout out to AMA, EFM, Courtesy Flush, Domain 101. Courtesy Flush is actually
It sounds like you're in a weird internet rap super group or something.
Yo, DJ Courtesy Flush,
Flush on the track.
Courtesy Flush actually tweeted at me my personal account, which we do at the end. We say at the end of every episode to say that they wanted to know like how far in advance we record the episodes, because we mentioned last episode that Fury Road had not come out yet, but you also said that you love the show. So Courtesy Flush, you are super cool. Also 1981 MPH and Roombot, y'all also posted in that thread, and you are very nice people. Thank you for communicating with us and enjoying our show. We should point out that, like we said, we recorded these episodes a long time in advance, so where we are right now, I've just both finished watching Season 2, have now recorded our episodes about the last couple episodes of Season 2. So if you want to talk, like, further ahead spoilers, do not communicate with us about anything past that, because, as we've mentioned before, this is a show where we watched the show for the first time. So, don't be that guy. Don't spoil
in general,
anything.
Don't try to spoil anything for us past the episode that's airing currently, but you can be assured that we're probably a season ahead of where the show is right now, if you really want to talk about something that's far ahead.
That is a perfect way to encompass it, I think, yeah. So, again, thank you guys so much for listening and enjoying it and subscribing on iTunes and through the Simplecast player. And I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode of ScapeChatz.
Hey, we're back. How's it going?
That was a good sit.
Oh my god, that was a long time.
I feel closer to myself.
Yeah, I feel closer to God and closer to Christ. Basically the same thing. Hey, we watched That Old Black Magic, Season 1, Episode 8 of Farscape. Oh, did I say that at the beginning? This is a podcast about Farscape. Yeah, in case someone's listening and they're like, oh, sweet. Finally a podcast about the escape button on my keyboard. And then they hear us talking about Christ and John Crichton and they're like, the fuck is this? This isn't cool.
Oh, that is a key piece of information.
ScapeChatz, a podcast about Farscape, guys. That's what it's about. And love. And friendship.
Hopefully they've figured out by now what this is about.
No, I
don't think a podcast about Farscape is the kind of thing that you stumble upon and you're like, oh, this show looks fun. I wonder what it's about. I think people seek it out purposefully.
Right. I guess you're right.
But we should have like a spiel that we give.
Just at least about the, yeah. I just missed it this week. I usually say, oh, it's about the television show Farscape, which was aired in...
You should do one of those things that podcasts do when it's like, oh, hey guys, it's Alan here. we were having audio problems in this episode, so blah, 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 blah. But for this episode, you come in and you're like, hey guys, it's Alan. Just so you guys know, we forget at the beginning of the episode to explain what this show is about. But it's about Farscape and and you just do that.
I could theoretically do that. Maybe you heard it already. Maybe that's a useless idea.
In which case, we sound stupid for repeating that.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Well,
that old black magic, Alan.
God, this episode. I have things to say about this one, though.
What did you think? Give me the rundown of what you... Well, no, can I do the plot?
Yeah, actually.
Synopsis? And then you tell me what you thought. We'll trade
are you ready to? Because the whole trick of doing the plot synopsis is you have to remember it. And that's hard. Go for it.
We'll see. Just pay attention and see if I miss something. Okay, so they're down on a planet, and it's like a market planet, and they're looking for something. According to this, they're looking for a cure for Rigel's flu.
Sure.
I guess he has a flu. So Zahn goes off to speak to somebody about that. Crichton is like wandering around, and then he runs into a weird jester, and the jester like knows stuff about Earth and about Crichton's past that he's not supposed to know. For example, who Crichton lost his virginity to, which apparently that is going to be a reoccurring element of his backstory.
Right, because there's so little there. I mean, that's important.
So pay attention to that. So he goes with this weird jester just because that guy knows stuff about him, and apparently that's enough of a reason. Then, what the hell is a Delvian Pau? Is that what that guy was? What that bad guy was?
Hey, spoilers. That's
okay, hold on.
It's the priest people.
Oh, it's what Zahn is.
Yes.
Oh, duh. Okay, I misread that sentence. So
Delvian's the race, the Pau is a priest.
Right. He says he can't. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering this. Okay, yeah. So Crichton gets led off by this jester to go talk to somebody who's like old and important. And Zahn goes to talk to this red guy. And he's red and he's pretty cool. Then we go and we see, is it Crais or Crais?
They say both. I say Crais.
Ugh. They gotta get consistent with their...
Zanzon, dude. Zanzon.
Crais is on his ship, and he gets a communique from High Command, and they're like, hey, stop trying to find John Crichton. Like, it's a waste of time, and you're way the hell out in the boonies of the galaxy, and we need you to come back. And his lieutenant is there, and he's like, hey, I'm probably just gonna keep going and doing this thing. Like, what do you think about that? And she's like, I'm with you, man. I mean, I think we should go back, but I follow your orders.
Oh, man, this part.
So then, Crichton is unconscious, apparently, and Dargo and Aaron find him and bring him back to the ship in, like, the real world, but in his weird dream state, he meets Maldus, who it turns out Maldus was the guy posing as both the jester and Halath, the old guy that he talks to. And Maldus is a warlock?
Sure. He's like a vampire warlock.
He's an evil sorcerer. So John Crichton is meeting this guy in a weird room, and he's like, oh, John Crichton, I'm going to do evil things to you. And then realize Zahn is talking to the red guy, and he's like, hey, there's an evil warlock around here. You should watch out for him. We want to beat him. So then, basically the two parallel stories. On the one hand, John is in this weird warlock world, and the warlock brings in Crais, like teleports him there or whatever he does, so that Crais can try to fight and kill John Crichton, because the warlock feeds off of death.
Yeah.
But he wants it to be interesting and, compelling, yes. I guess. And then in the outside world, Zahn is working with this red guy, trying to train herself to be able to use her powers to kill the warlock, because she has like magic priest powers. And usually she uses them for peace, but the red guy's like, no, we can't just be peaceful. We gotta hurt this guy.
You gotta practice by killing this cool, adorable three-headed bird thing.
Right. And you gotta practice by hurting Rigel a lot.
Yes.
And so Zahn goes through difficulty doing that, but she's eventually able to be cruel. Crichton continues to fight Crais. There's a weird moment where Crais is shown images of his past to try to encourage him to fight Crichton. They fight some more. Then Zahn shows up, saves the day, and that all happens. Crais is back in his ship, and he's like, now I really want to kill John Crichton because he fought me, and shit, and we fought a lot. And then his lieutenant's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, any more communication from high command? She's like, no. And he's like, cool. And he kills her, snaps his lieutenant's neck like that. And then our reflective moment back on the ship is Crichton. Who's DK? That's someone from Earth? Is that?
I'm gonna let you figure it out.
Okay. Anyway, he's like doing something, making a recording.
I think DK was
himself.
the friend that he had in the pilot.
It's his friend, yeah. And then Zahn comes in and they talk, and now Zahn is like, she's unlocked an evil part of herself, is the takeaway. And so that could be bad.
So that's the episode.
Yeah, what did you think of this shit? Sorry.
Well, I think that it was written by Richard Manning.
I didn't mean shit as in it's bad, I mean shit as in it's...
About this ish.
Yeah, this ish. Well,
I think that it was written by Richard Manning and directed by Brendan Maher. It aired in June of '99 and January of 2000 in the UK. I wanted to like this episode more than I did.
Yes, I agree.
I didn't hate it. I feel like it would have benefited a lot if we had known more about Crais a little bit before, or had seen him menacing Crichton and company a few more times. But I think my biggest problem with the A plot is that the villain Maldus doesn't feel menacing. He just feels like he has a lot of power, but his goal doesn't seem clear. It just seems like we're gonna bring our villain, our like series villain, back into focus and give Crichton a chance to have a moral quandary. But on the other hand, I thought the B plot was sort of brilliant because it deals with what it means to be a priest in this world, and how it relates to not only spirituality but also power, because I always like learning more about Zahn, and I feel like this episode finally gave her a chance to have something to do other than be right, and they gave her this really intense moment of vulnerability where mad props to the actress who plays Zahn, where she just is breaking down, realizing that yes, I used to kill people and I gave that up, and ultimately I can't keep it out forever. It's in me now, and it's a part of me. What did you think of this episode?
I think pretty similar to what you thought. This was the wrong episode to not pay a lot of attention to, because it kind of just hops places, and if you're not following, like I wasn't, then you wouldn't know that the Jester and Maldus are the same guy, and that it was a manifestation of him and his warlockness. And you wouldn't know who the red guy was that Zahn was talking to. It's just a lot of weirdly... I think I said the word arbitrary already, but that's the best way to describe this. And the thing that really drives that home for me is one of the pieces of trivia here on the Farscape wiki, which is... I gotta find it, but...
holy crap, by the way, Haloth, the bad guy, spoke in the entire time in iambic pentameter.
Not the bad guy who was there for most of the time, his old man manifestation did. But yes, that is true.
It's the piece that you're looking for.
It's about... There's a joke that surfaced in the writer's room because of this episode.
Oh, now I'm also looking at the background info, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I can't remember which one it was, but basically there was... Oh, here we go. Maldus's name cropped up in many story meetings after this episode. O'Bannon, the executive producer, stated, the joke in later episodes was that whenever we were plotting a story and couldn't get past some problem, we'd just say, this is all a Maldus fabrication anyway. He felt that they had created a character like Q from Star Trek.
Oh. So do you know who Q is?
I'm looking it up now.
Q is a character from early, the second episode of Star Trek, who is, if I remember correctly, just this alien dude who has the ability to create realities and to create, scenarios for people. And he has this really gaudy, Pope hat and outfit. And he's basically just there to mess with them. He's kind of one of the closest things that the show has to a villain, I guess. But he's really interesting. I think Maldus could have been like that if Maldus didn't have his entire motivation be fueled by violence. Because Q was very much a character that was sort of there to push people's buttons and to make change happen, and to be like, I'm just gonna fuck with all of you because screw you guys. And he's from a race of beings known as the Q, by the way. Thank you, Star Trek Wiki. But Maldus just felt like he had a goal and didn't reveal the extent of it until the very end, and it just kind of felt like a really roundabout way to achieve that goal. So basically, he's like, his whole thing was, you're like, wait, why does he want to make Crichton and Crais fight a bunch? And the idea was that he's going to make them keep fighting until Crais' ship gets lost or damaged in deep space, in mystery space or whatever, and he loses it.
He can take it.
Right, so he can take it and use it to kill way more people and then get way more blood and violence. So that was their attempt to tie this fairly small scale plot into the grand world. And I feel like that's, if you'll allow me to kind of go on a little rant, I guess. Another weird problem that this episode had that I don't think you might have noticed, just because it's like one of those devil in the detail sort of things that's like I paid attention to the lines in this episode. Like, the red guy, whose name we're never gonna get, because he's only in this episode, he mentions real briefly that Maldus has been terrorizing his people.
His name's Lico.
There you go.
By the way.
Lico's like, hey, Zahn, like, you guys really need to get rid of this Maldus guy because he's been screwing with my entire race. Everybody on this planet hates him, and he's been our, like, dictator and has been manipulating our reality for a really long time. And I felt like that was a single line that was trying to raise the stakes in a way that could have been more fleshed out. Like, they could have showed more of the town, more of the planet even. Because really, the only scene we see of the planet is in the very beginning on the... It's like Zahn and that guy and Frico, whatever, looking for, like, perfume or whatever they're looking at. They're just going shopping. So that bummed me out. And
it felt like they had to they were just cramming a ton of stuff into this episode, and it all stemmed from the question of how do we get John Crichton and Crais to run into each other again?
Right.
Like, it never felt like they were working organically from an idea for an episode. It always felt like they were mechanically going step by step from that question, and they never went back through and tried to smooth it out at all.
Exactly. And that led to problems like Dargo and Aaron's son basically not being in this episode.
Right.
And just not getting to use and I mean, I don't have any problem with not using your entire cast every episode, but it was a little disjointed. So, like you said, the A-plot is as Crichton and Crais fighting in weird world that looks like a big chess game or something. It's just a lot of marble statues and black and white tiled floors. Looking like a bonus level out of like RuneScape or something, when you mine too many ores and they're like, oh, now you're in Magic Land. It was one of those. I just don't remember so much of it. It was basically, to be fair, I liked the beginning of where that plot was going because John Crichton is really excited to get to talk to Crais. He's enthusiastic in a way that is almost naive, in a way that they usually don't make protagonists like this, where he's like, yes, this will solve the whole show. I can just tell him his brother didn't die by accident and it'll be great and he'll forgive me and we'll be best friends and I won't get chased by him anymore. And Natch, when Crais gets there, they yank him off his ship out of nowhere, and his first instinct is, I must kill you. And then Crichton's like, hold on. Let's talk this out. And he finally gets that moment. Where he's like, listen, your brother was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I couldn't have planned to be there. I, hit a weird hyperspace jump and I crashed into his ship. And he's like, that's an unlikely story, and you would only tell me that if you were covering your ass. Which is what the viewer, was thinking the whole time, is no matter what Crichton tells him, Crais is going to say, you're covering your own ass, because you have no reason you're just lying to me. You have no reason to not be self-preserving.
Right.
And then, of course, Maldus, the way he makes Crais go crazy is to be like, but look what your brother looks like. And he's like, this is what John Crichton made your brother look like. And it's just a bad CG burning body on the floor. And that was kind of their twist your arm around the back of your head way of getting some Crais backstory. Which, I don't know how I felt about any of that.
Right. My thing was, something that I just had in my head and I forgot it, and I need to vamp for a second so I can remember what it was. Yeah, it's like before the whole Crais pursuing Crichton thing.
Yeah.
Was like, all right, that's kind of flimsy. Like, yeah, he crashed into your brother, I guess, but it's pretty obvious that this dude's a dope and that he didn't really mean to do it. So that's whatever. And it's, if we want to draw one of our recurring Farscape themes into this discussion, it's the idea that, like, talking is the way to solve problems.
Exactly.
And then this episode is like, well, sometimes people don't actually want to talk. Like, you should try talking, but if people don't want to listen, then that's it. You can't do anything about it. Which, that's an interesting wrinkle in the sort of main theme that you and I have been drawing out of Farscape so far.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to feel about Crais post this episode, because his motivations now are easier to explain, but they're harder to believe.
Interesting. How so?
Like, because now you can say, oh, he's chasing Crichton because Crichton, like, fought him. Like, now they're at a point where it doesn't even matter who fired the first shot anymore. Now they're just rivals. And so that's, like, more verbally justifiable than just, oh, he killed his brother by accident. But, like, now it's much more vague and less emotionally grounded also, because why is, like, if Crais were to really think about this for a second, he wouldn't chase Crichton. It just seems crazy.
It feels like a weird sibling rivalry where we're only fighting because we've been fighting for so long, and why would we stop now?
Right. And, like, intellectually that makes sense because we see conflicts like that all the time in fiction.
Right.
But emotionally it makes no sense at all.
You're not going to get anything by defeating him.
Right. And I'm not invested in this conflict. And am I going to care when Crais is probably going to die. That seems like either redemption or death.
Right, that's a given.
Like his arc. Am I going to care when he gets redeemed? Maybe. Am I going to care if he dies? No, I'm not. And for me, watching the show, in the back of my head, I'm never thinking like, oh, maybe Crais is just around the corner. So I'm not afraid of him. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what to make of him right now.
Just a related point, I think one of my biggest problems with the way that they ended up handling Crais was the way that they dealt with that backstory, which was to show a scene to him and John Crichton of Crais as a kid, and we learned that he had a brother, and that his father was the one who conscripted them the government conscripted them to be peacekeepers, and their dad was like, well, good luck, kids, bye forever. And they're like, no, I didn't want to. So now we have this idea that Crais is not attached to the idea of being a peacekeeper, or at least he wasn't, and he's maybe developed a sort of appreciation for their work. Mm-hmm. But now it just feels like his only motivation in life, in existence, is this really futile effort to kill the person who led to his brother dying. And that's sad in a way for us, the viewer, but I don't feel like that scene is enough to motivate Crais to kill John Crichton. Because it's basically just like, hey, remember your brother is the reason that Maldus chose that scene. Not to be like, oh, you are only a peacekeeper because you were forced to be. That's how I felt about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't crazy about the episode.
Well, that's kind of the gist of the sort of the A-plot, because, yeah, I mean, they fight for a while, and then Crichton gets this nice moment where he flips from, like, we should talk to, like, I'm going to destroy him. And it's hard to tell if it's genuine or if he's kind of playing it up for Maldus. What did you think about that?
I'm sorry, ask that again.
There's this part at the end of the episode where Crichton, instead of trying to talk, decides, okay, Crais is absolutely going to kill me. I'm going to fight back, and I'm going to kill him. And so they play into Maldus' plan exactly. And I was wondering if you think that was John Crichton actually flipping, or if he was playing it up so that Maldus would, have this false sense of satisfaction. Like, do you think that this interjection actually made Crichton want to kill Crais?
I don't know. I think they want us to think that Crichton fucked up. Like, that's more compelling from a narrative standpoint of, hey, John Crichton is not infallible. And like, yeah, he tries to do the right thing all the time, but sometimes when his back is against the wall, he just has to fight. But I didn't feel that. It didn't really feel urgent. And I didn't believe that he was really going to harm Crais in any way.
Yeah, that was my problem with it. And then before you even have time to think about that, before that scene has time to breathe, Zahn comes in, theoretically guns a-blazing, and just kind of sweeps the episode towards its conclusion.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we haven't talked about the Zahn plot yet, but it's pretty easily summarizable. I mean,
yeah,
her and the red guy are training for a while, and like we said, he is like, oh, kill this adorable three-headed bird thing, which is cool. I love seeing animal and like the flora and fauna of sci-fi shows, because it adds depth in a way that just having a bunch of alien people doesn't. And she isn't able to do it. She almost is. She gets it squeaking, but she's kind of like, no, I'm inherently a good person. Like, I don't kill people. And at that moment, the viewer were like, oh, maybe Zahn is pretty cool. But yeah, we learn over time that she had a bad past, and that she was a savage for a while. And we get this implication that religion, or, her spirituality saved her. And it's one of those things where the episode ends with her being like, oh, something's really bad in me, and I have this evil in me, and I used to be really bad, and now I'm feeling bad again. It's almost neutered by the rest of this episode existing, because it's such an interesting thing that doesn't get a conclusion yet. It's sort of very much hyping the next, I don't know if it's the next episode or if it's an upcoming episode, but right when the episode decided to get interesting and be like, oh, Zahn's got something going on, just fucking the kazoo comes in and pulls apart or ends the coolest part of this episode with some damn credits. So, unfortunate ending to a okay episode that could have been way more interesting, I feel like. Agreed? Agreed. Friends,
yeah, agreed.
Is there any other background information that you thought was interesting or you wanted to read? There are a couple quotes in here from Rockney S. O'Bannon. Can we just start calling him O'Bannon? We're doing that right now, right?
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Because we're gonna mention.
I want to call him The Rock.
The Rock. Okay, the Rockney.
Yeah.
He said that this episode was a deliberate attempt to do something different. He explained, in the early days of any show, you're hunting, you're surfing around to get the tone of the show and find out what you want it to be. You need to see how far you're willing to go in certain directions.
And I respect that.
Absolutely.
I think that's cool. I think they just bit off more than they could chew with this episode, and it felt super arbitrary. Like, this could have worked maybe as like a two-parter, possibly.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and then the second episode is like Zahn and her whole thing.
Yeah.
Because there's this idea mentioned in the trivia also that I didn't even pick up on, but Dargo has lines in this episode. And there's this implication that his race are afraid of spirituality and afraid of magic. And so we're forming this like rift between him and Zahn that, again, is going to become one of my favorite things on this show probably. But it's from a line that I probably completely missed. And so
right, exactly.
All the cool things about this episode are just like, setting things up for something in the future, which is unfortunate. Crais' fate. Oh, can we talk about the fucking scene where Crais chokes his Kamei's assistant officer? And by choke, I mean grabbed her chin and then she died. There's no, I watched that scene like 4 times because I was like, I wasn't paying attention by the end of this episode because I knew where it was going. And then that was kind of a cool reveal, is that he's like, hey, did you or anyone else, like, you're the only person who got this information, right? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, cool, good work. Ka-tink. And it's just this like good sound, like good Foley work. But you look at it, like I was looking away from the screen, I look back, and he literally just turns around, grabs her by the chin, and then just kind of like bends. And you're like, there's no universe where that snaps someone's neck. I'm sorry. And maybe, Crais is super badass with his cool goatee of theory.
Maybe Sebastian necks are easier to scratch.
Sebastian necks are easy?
Yeah.
I don't watch it. I don't know why I was thinking about Earth Girls Are Easy this week so much. Because it's good sci-fi.
Maybe you listened to the same My Brother and Me episode I did.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it, but thanks.
Oh, sorry.
Just kidding. There was a subtle unscripted joke from the Jester character when he says, "I'll get you by the Mivonks." O'Bannon pointed out that, quote, "He's got a magic stick with 2 balls on a rope. He loops them over the stick, simulating a penis and testicles. It wasn't in the script, and it's very subtle and funny." I love that line. I like this idea that, well, yeah, we're getting this idea from all this trivia that O'Bannon is very much defending this early part of the show.
Yeah.
And I think that the source of all this information, the, like, Farscape Chronicles thing, is one of those things where the creator of the show is going back and being like, "Oh, this was crazy," but instead of...
It's probably DVD commentary or something.
Right, and instead of being like, "Oh, this was so bad before the show got good," he's like, "No, listen. This penis and testicle joke was really good. They made me get rid of it, but oh my god, you guys would have been just mind blown instantly. And I'm just really sad that you guys didn't get to enjoy this." So
no, he's saying that was an improvisation.
Or yeah, there are jokes in here.
Part of the act.
Yeah. I think I like that he's really proud of his show.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting to get to the part where I'm proud to watch it.
I think Rockneus O'Bannon leaves the show after a certain point.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he's with it all 4 seasons.
I'll be sad if that happens. If and when.
He's executive producer on the 1st season, and then he's credited as an executive consultant on the other 3.
Oh, only on this season he's a producer?
Yeah, but he writes their episodes that he wrote in seasons 2 and 3.
Okay.
And he writes the movie.
Right. So he takes a diminished role is what you're getting at.
I think so.
Unfortunate, because yeah, he does good work. And we do good work, Magellan.
Oh.
Oh, don't say that. Don't hold us to that standard. That was ScapeChatz for this week, Magellan. And this is the week of, well, let's not put dates on things. Hey, Magellan.
Dates are just a number.
Yeah, age is just a number as well. Speaking of age, can you tell me the age of the... Oh, fuck, I can't segue it. Summarize the next week episode for me, please. Please summarize them for me.
Can you vamp for a hot second?
I want to suck your evil death blood. I love to eat death. My name is Milos. What was the guy's name? Milton?
Maldus. Milton. Yeah, it was Milton.
Milton's milk balls. Milton's milk balls.
Alright, you ready for this?
Wait, ready for, whoa, summaries. Next week on ScapeChatz.
You gotta let me do it.
Go.
We're watching episodes 9 and 10 of season 1 of Farscape. The first one we're watching, episode 9, DNA Mad Scientist. So that's a great title.
Yeah.
DNA Mad Scientist. Moya's crew seeks a scientist who can provide star charts to their home worlds. His intentions are revealed when Aaron begins evolving into pilot.
I'm looking at the same thing that John is, which is a Netflix summary, and I read that last sentence like 8 times. I feel like I don't understand it.
Me neither.
That's exciting if that's how I think it works out. Or if that's... what about the other one?
Also, we should note that these titles come from a time in TV where they didn't know that titles were going to be a thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, right, yeah, because Twin Peaks does the same thing, where it's just like, oh, the titles are from the German airing. These aren't meant to be shown in the episode.
Right, these titles were just meant internal names for episodes that they could distinguish them, which explains the title of episode 10, They've Got a Secret. A routine maintenance check on Moya causes Dargo to relive flashbacks from his past, which reveal the truth behind his Peacekeeper imprisonment.
Whoa!
That sounds good.
That sounds great. I'm way into it. I'm down to clown.
Yeah.
I think so. John, here's a question for you. Will you join me next week on another episode of ScapeChatz where we discuss the TV show Farscape?
Hey, Alan, can I give you my answer off the air?
Alright, we'll be back next week. And will or won't be back. Spoilers, he totally will. I can't do this on my own. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'll be
Thank you
back.
for listening to episode 4 of ScapeChatz. We will see you next week.